Stop scrolling for 1 second. What if I told you that most gardeners spend money every single spring? Buying seeds, buying starts, replanting the same things over and over. When there are vines sitting in nurseries right now that you plant once and harvest for the next 20, 30, even 75 years? Not an exaggeration. 75 years. Most people have no idea these plants exist. They've been conditioned to believe gardening means replanting every year. Buy seeds in spring. Lose them in winter. Start over, buy more. That cycle makes the garden industry a lot of money, but it does not have to be your reality. Today, we are breaking that cycle completely. I'm about to walk you through 10 vines, real, proven, food-producing vines that you plant once and they feed you for life. Some produce fruit, some produce vegetables. One produces food both above and below the ground simultaneously. One of them has been feeding American families since long before the United States even existed as a country. And one of them, I'm saving it for the very end, smells like chocolate and tastes like something you have never had from any grocery store on this earth. If that sounds like the kind of content you want more of, hit subscribe right now, because this is exactly what Rooted Harvest was built for. We do this every single week. Now let's get into it. Number 1. The Concord grape here is a story most people do not know, and it changes how you think about this vine entirely. In 1843, a man named Ephraim Wales Bull, a gold beater by trade, moved to Concord, Massachusetts for his health. His lungs were failing from city pollution. And what did this man do when he arrived in the countryside? He became completely obsessed with grapes. For 6 years, he planted seedling after seedling. Not a few dozen, but 22,000 seedlings. Trying to create a grape tough enough to survive brutal New England winters, but sweet enough to actually eat. In 1849, after all that relentless labor, he found it. The Concord grape, named after his adopted town. He unveiled it to the world in 1853, and it spread like fire across America. His gravestone epitaph? He sowed. Others reaped, because farmers bought his vines for $5 each, took cuttings, and Ephraim Bull died with almost nothing to his name. But here is what that entire history means for your garden right now. You are planting one of the most battle-tested, historically proven food vines in all of American history. Zones 4 through 8. Hardy down to -15 degrees Fahrenheit. Self-pollinating. One vine gives you fruit completely on its own. By year 3, you are harvesting 20 to 30 pounds of deep, beautiful purple grapes per vine. And a well-cared-for Concord vine can produce fruit for up to 75 years. 75. Your grandchildren could be harvesting from the exact vine you plant this spring. Juice, jelly, wine, jam, fresh eating straight off the vine in September. And the leaves are edible too, used exactly like grape leaves in Mediterranean cooking. One pro tip that almost nobody does. In years 1 and 2, pinch off every single flower. I know that feels wrong. But forcing the vine to build deep, strong roots, rather than producing fruit in those early years, creates a dramatically more productive vine for the next several decades. Delay the reward. You will never regret it. Number 2. Hardy kiwi, also called kiwi berry. You know those fuzzy kiwis at the grocery store? Tough skin, need to be peeled, usually half underripe when you finally get to them. Set that image aside completely for a moment. Hardy kiwi, Actinidia arguta, is an entirely different experience. The fruits are grape-sized. Smooth, thin skin. You eat them whole, skin and all, like popping a grape into your mouth. No peeling, no mess, and the flavor sweeter, more aromatic, more complex. Like a kiwi fruit with the volume turned all the way up. Here is where it gets genuinely hard to believe. One mature, hardy kiwi vine can produce over 100 pounds of fruit in a single season. One vine, 100 pounds. And this plant is cold hardy, down to -25 degrees Fahrenheit. It thrives in zones 3 through 8. That means it grows in conditions where the vast majority of fruit plants simply die. When your neighbors are mourning their fruit trees after a brutal winter, your kiwi vine is completely fine, completely unbothered. The vine grows aggressively, up to 30 feet, and it is one of the most beautiful plants you will ever put on a pergola, trellis, or arbor. Dense, deep green, cascading leaves and clusters of fruit that turn golden in late September. One thing you must know, most hardy kiwi varieties require both a male and a female plant to produce fruit. The one exception is a self-fertile variety called Isai. For all other varieties, one male pollinates up to 8 females. Get that ratio right. and you will have more fruit than you know what to do with. Number 3. The Native American passion fruit. This stops people from getting cold every single time. You are walking through your garden in July, and you see a flower so intricate, so exotic, so impossibly complex that visitors stop mid-sentence and just stare. Purple. Otherworldly. Something that looks like it was designed by an artist who had only ever described what a flower was, but had never seen one. That is the maypop, Passiflora incarnata, and it is not some imported tropical curiosity. It is completely deeply, originally American. The Cherokee called the region around Tennessee's Ocoee River Uwagohee, which translates directly to the place where the passion fruits grow. Captain John Smith documented in 1612 that Native Americans in Virginia were actively cultivating this vine for its fruit. Tribes across the Southeast used every single part of it. Fruit eaten raw and boiled into syrup, young leaves cooked like greens, roots brewed into teas for calming anxiety and treating wounds. By the 1600s, colonial apothecaries in Virginia and Carolina were recording maypop extracts as a natural treatment for insomnia and nerve conditions. This plant has centuries of documented use on American soil. The fruit itself tastes tropical. Sweet, tart, rich, genuine passion fruit flavor, growing in your backyard in zones 6 through 11. The flowers are larval hosts for the Gulf fritillary butterfly and the zebra longwing, Florida's state butterfly. Every autumn, the vine dies completely back to the ground and looks utterly dead. Then every single spring, it erupts from the roots more vigorous than the year before, climbing 10 to 15 feet in a single season. One honest caution: it spreads through underground runners and will pop up several feet from the original planting. Give it room or use a buried root barrier to keep it where you want it. This vine is not shy. Number 4. Muscadine grape. If you live in zones 7 through 10 and you are not growing muscadines, you are genuinely leaving free food on the table. The muscadine is native to the southeastern United States, cultivated here for over 400 years. And unlike almost every other fruit vine, muscadines require little to no spraying, even organically. The humid, hot, relentless southern summers that destroy other crops. Muscadines were built for exactly that. They are perfectly adapted to the most challenging growing conditions in America. The berries are larger than typical bunch grapes, thick-skinned, deeply colored, with a musky sweetness that is entirely unlike anything you will find at a grocery store. Here's something most people don't realize. Muscadines contain one of the highest concentrations of resveratrol of any grape variety on Earth. That's the same antioxidant compound that made red wine famous for cardiovascular benefits. You're not just growing food, you're growing medicine. Harvest runs August through September. Ripe berries shake right off the vine into a canvas spread below. One of the most satisfying harvests you will ever experience in a garden. Self-fertile varieties begin producing in year 2 or 3 and keep going for decades. One thing to watch: not all muscadine varieties are self-fertile. Female-only varieties need a pollinator nearby. If you are starting with one vine, go with a self-fertile cultivar like Carlos or Noble. It simplifies everything. And here's something most gardening videos never mention. There are documented muscadine vines in the American South that are over a century old and still producing fruit. When you plant a muscadine, you are not planning for years. You are planning for generations. Number 5, chayote squash. 30 fruits in year 1, 80 fruits in year 2. And every single part of the plant is edible. Let me say that again, every part. The fruit, the tender young shoots, the leaves, and the tuberous roots that develop underground and taste like a rich, dense potato. Chayote, Sequia medule, is a perennial vine in zones 8 and warmer, and it reaches 50 feet in length once established. It is one of the most productive food plants you can put on a trellis, and it is completely unique in how you start it. You don't plant a seed, you plant the entire fruit. Go to a grocery store, find a chayote. It's in the Latin food section in most American supermarkets. Bring it home. Set it on your counter until a small sprout emerges from the broad end. Then bury the whole thing in your garden with the sprout barely above the soil. That is it. The entire fruit becomes the seed. One shopping trip starts a vine that could feed you for years. In zones below 8, it behaves as an annual but reseeds from the fruit left on the vine. In warmer zones, cut it back hard in late fall. Mulch the root zone deeply, and it returns each spring more powerful than before. 80 fruits per season from one plant is not a promise. It is a documented average. The flavor is mild and clean, like a cucumber crossed with summer squash but denser, with a nuttiness that gets richer when roasted. If you have tried it from a store and found it boring, grow your own. Fresh garden chayote versus one that traveled 2,000 miles on a refrigerated truck are two completely different foods. 5 down, 5 to go. And I want to tell you that vine number 8 on this list is the one that I still can't believe more people aren't growing. It might genuinely change what you think is possible in your garden. Keep watching. Number 6. American groundnut. This plant kept people alive before there was an America. The American groundnut, Apios americana, is a native perennial vine that has been growing across the eastern United States for thousands of years. And it is completely unlike anything else on this list because it feeds you in two completely different ways from the same plant simultaneously. Above the ground, clusters of deep, beautiful burgundy-colored flowers and edible bean pods. Below the ground, strings of starchy tubers, underground nuggets the size of a golf ball, strung together on the roots like pearls on a necklace, tasting like a rich and nutty roasted potato. Indigenous peoples across the eastern continent harvested these tubers as a primary food staple. When the Pilgrims arrived, and their first crops failed in those brutal early Massachusetts winters, it was the groundnut that kept them alive. This is not a footnote. This plant is a documented survival food with a track record measured in centuries. Zones 3 through 7. The vine grows up to 10 feet per season and needs a simple trellis or fence to climb. The tubers need 2 to 3 years to reach a truly harvestable size, so patience is not optional here. It is part of the deal. But once they're established, you have a self-sustaining underground pantry that returns faithfully every year without replanting, without work. Cook the tubers. Roasted, boiled, pan-fried in butter. They're dense, filling, and more flavorful than any grocery store potato you've ever eaten. Almost nobody grows this plant anymore. That is exactly why you should be the one who does. Number 7. Hops before you skip past this thinking it's only for home brewers. Stop right there. Yes, the hops vine, Humulus lupulus, produces the aromatic cones that go into beer. If you homebrew, that single fact alone makes it worth every square foot you give it. But here's the side of hops that the beer world doesn't widely advertise. Every spring, hops push up tender young shoots from the crown that taste remarkably like asparagus. In gourmet European kitchens, particularly in Belgium and Italy, hop shoots are treated as a luxury seasonal vegetable. They sell for significant money at specialty markets. You get them free, straight from your own garden, every March and April. So here's what you're actually getting. A spring vegetable harvest, a midsummer privacy screen that hits 20 to 30 feet in a single season, and a late summer cone harvest for brewing, herbal teas, or natural sleep remedies. 3 harvests, 1 perennial plant, zones 4 through 9. Harvest the cones mid-August through September when they feel dry and papery, and the golden lupulin powder inside has developed a strong, sharp fragrance. 1 established plant yields 1 to 2 pounds of dried cones annually. Critical warning you must take seriously. Hops cones are toxic to dogs and cats, including dried cones stored in your home. Keep pets entirely away from this plant during harvest and drying season. This is not an exaggeration. It can be fatal. Beyond food, hops has a centuries-old reputation as a natural sleep aid. Dried hops in a small pillow placed near your head at night has been used across Europe for hundreds of years to promote deep sleep. A food vine, a privacy screen, a brewing ingredient, and a sleep remedy. This plant earns every inch you give it. If you are finding this video useful, this is a great time to subscribe and hit the bell. We go this deep on every single upload. Now back to the list. Number 8. Scarlet runner bean. Here is the one I told you about. Most people see scarlet runner beans in garden catalogs and assume they're purely ornamental. The bright red flowers, the vigorous climbing canes covering 8 feet of trellis. They look almost too beautiful to be a serious food plant. They are not ornamental. They are an extraordinary food vine. In zones 7 through 11, the tuberous roots overwinter underground, and the plant returns as a true perennial. In colder zones, it behaves as an annual, but it produces so fast, 60 to 70 days from planting, that it earns every inch of space regardless. The beans are harvested young as tender green pods, or left to fully mature and dried as shell beans that are dense, nutty, and exceptional in soups and slow-cooked stews. The flowers are completely edible, sweet, bright, and beautiful in salads. and those flowers will draw hummingbirds to your yard from blocks away. Your garden becomes a neighborhood destination. Here is one absolute rule: never eat mature runner beans raw. They contain lectins in significant concentrations that cause serious gastrointestinal distress. Always cook mature seeds before eating. Young pods eaten fresh, exactly like green beans, are completely safe. Know the difference. The combination this vine offers: immediate production, exceptional beauty, powerful pollinator attraction, and deep culinary utility, makes it one of the most underappreciated food plants available to American gardeners. Number 9. Thornless blackberry. Let's talk about something your grocery bill will immediately understand. 1 pound of organic blackberries costs $4 to $6. An established thornless blackberry vine produces 10 to 20 pounds per season. You don't need a calculator for that math. Better yet, no thorns. You harvest with bare hands, arms completely exposed, in a t-shirt on a warm summer morning. No scratches, no blood on your arms, no cursing under your breath. Varieties like Triple Crown, Apache, and Washita have been bred specifically for thornless canes, combined with enormous sweet fruit production in zones 5 through 9. Year 1 is all establishment. Year 2 is when production begins, and you taste what you've been waiting for. After that, for the next 15 to 20 years, you have an annual blackberry harvest that costs you nothing but a little focused pruning time each fall. Here is the pruning key that most new growers get completely wrong. After a cane produces fruit in its second year, these are called floriflora canes. It is done. It will never fruit again. Cut those spent canes all the way to ground level immediately after harvest in late summer. Do not wait until spring. Do not leave them hoping for more. Removing them immediately redirects all the plant's energy to the fresh first-year canes that will carry your entire next year's crop. This one decision separates thriving blackberry patches from declining ones. Number 10. Chocolate vine Akebia quinata. I saved the most extraordinary for last. And I genuinely mean that. Walk past this vine in spring and you will stop walking. Because it smells like chocolate. Not subtly. Not as a distant hint. Unmistakably, richly, completely like chocolate and vanilla together. The scent rolling off clusters of small, deep purple flowers draped across the vine, like something from another world entirely. That alone would place it on this list. But summer comes, and it produces fruit. Purple pods, 4 to 5 inches long, split open completely on their own when ripe. The vine literally hands you its harvest without you having to do anything. Inside is a soft, translucent, sweet, gelatinous pulp with a flavor that people consistently describe as tapioca pudding crossed with coconut and ripe melon. In Japan, this fruit is sold as a seasonal delicacy at premium prices. Here in America, almost nobody grows it. Zones 4 through 9. Fast growing, reaching 30 feet and beyond. Once established, it needs almost no maintenance. A low-effort plant that rewards patience with beauty and food every single season. Typically, you need 2 vines planted near each other for cross-pollination and consistent fruit production. One honest note: in certain parts of the southeast, Akebia quinata can become invasive. Check your local invasive species list before planting, particularly in the Carolinas and Georgia. In most of the country, it's completely non-invasive and grows beautifully without issue. But here is what I want to leave you with about this vine, and about this entire list. Plant something once, let it grow, let it mature, let the seasons do the work. And one day you'll be walking through your garden, and a vine will split open a fruit in front of you, releasing a scent like dessert, handing you something sweet and completely unexpected. That is what perennial gardening feels like. That is why this is worth doing. Quick bonus before we close. If your yard is small and you can only choose 3 from this list, here is my personal ranking. Hardy kiwi for sheer jaw-dropping production, maypop for beauty and complete uniqueness, and thornless blackberry for how quickly and reliably it starts feeding your family. If you can only plant 1 vine today, start with the blackberry. You will not wait long for it to prove itself. Now here is what I need you to do before you close this video. Drop a comment right now. Tell me which vine from this list you are planting this season. And include your USDA zone. I read every comment and I reply to as many as I possibly can. And your answer might genuinely help someone watching right now who is in the exact same zone, wondering exact same thing. If this kind of content is what you have been looking for, real, practical, plant-on's harvest forever gardening that actually goes deep, subscribe right now and ring the bell. We put out this level of content consistently, and I don't want you to miss what's coming next. The next video on this channel covers perennial vegetables that essentially grow themselves year after year with almost zero effort. It pairs perfectly with everything you just learned today. It is sitting right there ready for you. 10 vines, 1 planting, a lifetime of harvest. Every one of these vines is available from reputable nurseries right now. Some, like the chayote, you start from a grocery store. There is no reason to wait another season. The gardeners who planted these 5 years ago are harvesting today. Go get started.